You're listening to the Fierce Fatty Podcast, episode 50. What about weight loss surgery? I am your host, Victoria Welsby. Let's get into this episode.
Perfect.
I'm Victoria Welsby, TEDx speaker, best-selling author, and fat activist. I have transformed my life from hating my body with desperately low self-esteem to being a courageous and confident, fierce fatty who loves every inch of this jelly. Society teaches us living in a fat body is bad, but what if we spent less time, money, and energy on the pursuit of thinness and instead focused on the things that actually matter, like if pineapple on pizza should be outlawed, or if the mullet was the greatest haircut of the 20th century. So, how do you stop negative beliefs about your fat body controlling your life? It's the Fierce Fatty Podcast. Let's begin. Hello, fatty. How are you? How's life? You all right? Oh, you're all right? I'm good. I'm all right. Good. Thanks for tuning in today on this episode 50. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I did half of 100. I did twice of 25 episodes. Once a week, minimum. Since October 1st, 2019. Almost a year. It's September here when I'm recording this. Actually, this will come out on October 6th. So it would have been a year. I'm so good. Oh my gosh. So this episode, we're talking about bariatric surgery. I put it in quotes, weight loss surgery. Do you lose weight with surgery? Who knows? But hey, now we've done 50 episodes. Thanks for hanging out with me. I want to remind you of some of the juiciest ones. I tell you what, a lot of people loved that one, episode 43, Belly Hating Hurdles, Life Coaching with Bethan. That was a really popular one. Will no one ever find me attractive if I'm fat, episode 40. Y'all loved that. And so if you haven't listened to these episodes, go and check them out. You also liked listening to Susie's story, episode 39. From ashamed and obsessed to fierce fatty. I was like, what? For a second I was like, from ashamed to obsessed. What? That's not good. From ashamed and obsessed. But I'm afraid people will judge me. Number 37. How fat phobia stemmed from racism. Number 33. That was popular. The lies we tell ourselves so we can get to a place of body love. Number 31. Is fat positivity anti-health? Number 27. I'm just going down my list of all of the things. Am I addicted to food or sugar? Number 21. I'm just remembering which was like the highest downloads. Number 17. My doctor told me to lose weight for my health concern. Oh, this was a popular one. Why intuitive eating isn't working for you? Number 14. Tell you one, the least popular one was episode 12. New Year's resolutions that won't make you feel like a bag of poo. That's a good episode, but I guess, like, I don't know. Who cares about New Year's resolutions? I'm going to share that again at New Year this year, and let's see if you like it this year. 5 reasons why you hate your fat body. Number 9. How to deal with dieting friends. Number 6. And number 4, the 3 biggest fears we have about stopping dieting and loving our body and how to get over them. And of course, every single other episode is incredible. But they are the most popular. Probably because the titles sound more interesting or something. Who the fuck knows? Or maybe the topics are better. Who the fuck knows? You might know because you're the one listening. You're going to tell me, it's because of this, Victoria. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, so let's get into today's episode. I've been meaning to make this one for a while, but I've been putting it off. I don't know why I've been putting it off. Because it's a big and juicy topic. It's kind of I'm not into shaming people, and I don't want talking about weight loss surgery. I don't want people to think that if you choose to have surgery, that you are a bad person. And, you know, we see a lot of celebrities who were fat icons and still are, who then have surgery, and a lot of people in the fat positive, body positive community are sad about that. And that makes sense, of course. It's sad to think of someone who you thought was, you know, who liked their body, who was a champion for fat people, then having surgery. Some people feel like it's a betrayal. I personally don't, because it's not any of my business, really, what people do with their bodies. I don't know what's going on with their brain. I don't know what's going on with their life. I do know what it's like to move through the world as a small, medium fat. I don't know what it's like to move through the world with other marginalized identities. So I'm white. Having to move through the world as a black, indigenous person of color, that adds another layer on top of it. To move through the world with someone, if you have disabilities, if you're trans, all sorts of things. If you're gender non-conforming, it makes life harder. And so if you can do something to make your life, that you perceive will make your life easier, who knows if it will or not, and that is an option for you, and that is available for you, then I can understand why people would do that. And so I don't feel betrayed. I just feel compassionate towards them. But, you know, there probably is a bit in me that is kind of like, oh, I wish that they hadn't. Now, in this episode, we're talking about what actually bariatric surgery is, the different types. I'm not advertising it to you, but don't worry, I'm not like, hey, here's the different types and here's why it's great. No, just so we're on the same page of we know what we're talking about and what not, the outcomes and the risks of the surgery, and the stats around, does it actually make you thin? And why people get the surgery. And I'm going to read a few accounts from people who've had the surgery and what it's like. And if you're considering the surgery, we'll talk about, should you have the surgery? So let's do it. So what about weight loss surgery? Now, I wanted to talk about this today because it's been on my beautiful brain. Do you remember, I say, do you remember, like we've been best friends forever, do you remember when I was on that BBC documentary, Who Are You Calling Fat? Well, if you don't remember, because you don't know, I was on this documentary, and I lived in a house with other people who have higher weights, and two of those people in the house had previously had surgery to amputate their stomachs in order to lose weight. Now, one of the people was now a fat positive person, and she had the surgery years previously. It wasn't even talked about on the show, but she had that surgery and she had seen tons of serious consequences, malnutrition, her bones were super weak and she would break bones constantly. She had put on all the weight, and I think more, from what, if my memory serves me. Now, there was that one person, and there was another person who was heavily featured in the show. He had just had this surgery, and he'd lost lots of weight, because that tends to happen after the surgery temporarily. And he was on the show to espouse the benefits of this surgery, and everyone should get it. But he was already in the process of putting weight back on, because he had his surgery maybe a year prior, but he was not fat positive, and he still thought that the surgery was great, and he went around to the country telling people about the surgery. So I sometimes often refer to the surgery as stomach amputation surgery. That's something that Marilyn Wan, who is the author of Fatso, amazing book, she uses that term, and the reason why she uses that term, and the reason why I like that term, although it's not actually that accurate, is because we want to show and not show how big this is, how you are amputating a healthy organ in the pursuit of a smaller body. And the reason why it's not actually not as accurate is because sometimes people amputate their stomach, and sometimes they do other things. And the reason why I say weight loss, in quotes, weight loss surgery, because as you'll see, that actually the outcome for most people is not weight loss. So it should be called like temporary weight loss surgery with a shit ton of terrible side effects. So just so you know, before we get into it, that there are different types of, I'll call it weight loss surgery just for the sake of keeping things simple. There's different types of weight loss surgery. So there is the gastric band, which is when a circle, a band is put around someone's stomach, and then it is inflated with liquid, so that the stomach is made smaller. And that is something that you can have that band deflated, so it's not squeezing the stomach. And that is what a lot of people have done after they've seen the side effects of having that gastric band. Another thing is the balloon, which is literally having a balloon, not one that you'd probably have at your birthday, but having a balloon in your stomach, inflated, and so it makes the volume of your stomach again smaller. Now there's also something called the gastric bypass, which is cutting off some stomach, sometimes not cutting off stomach from what I've understood. Sometimes it's literally just bypassing some of the intestines, and so that you're not absorbing as much of the nutrients in that food. Therefore, you're getting kind of less of the food, and also your stomach is cut smaller sometimes so that you have a smaller stomach, so you can't eat as much. And then the last one, which is called the sleeve, which is where, like, I think about 90% of your stomach is cut off, thrown in the bin, thrown in the garbage, and to be never seen again. And you're left with, they call it a sleeve because it's like a little sleeve, like a little pocket. You can also get one which is like a tiny pouch. So that is, just so we know what we're talking about, that is what weight loss surgery is. Now, I want to share with you the most common risks of weight loss surgery. And obviously, all surgery has risks. There's no surgery that is completely risk-free. I don't know, maybe there is, I don't know, but there's risks in doing everything. But it has been said that weight loss surgery has is the, if not one of the riskiest surgeries for death and complication, and also is the most expensive and the most money-making for surgeons. So, most common risks: hair loss, ulcer, leaks. I'll explain more about that in a minute. Gastric bleeding, bowel obstruction, gallstones. I've had gallstones. I've had my gallbladder removed. I had gallstones from a child. I think it's something to do with my blood. There's different reasons why you get gallstones. Anyway, I had gallstones as a kid. They fucking suck. I had to have my gallbladder removed, which sucked. Anyway, so gallstones suck. Dehydration, acid reflux, anesthesia-related risks, chronic nausea and vomiting, dilation of the esophagus, inability to eat certain foods, infection, obstruction of the stomach, weight gain, or failure to lose weight. Now, the long-term side effects are dumping syndrome. I want to tell you what dumping syndrome is in a minute. Low blood sugar, malnutrition, vomiting, ulcers, bowel obstruction, and hernias. Dumping syndrome, it's basically what it sounds like, shitting your pants. So this is all from the Mayo Clinic. So the Mayo Clinic says dumping syndrome is a medical condition in which your stomach empties its contents into the first part of your small intestine, the duodenum, faster than normal. Dumping syndrome is also known as rapid gastric emptying. People with dumping syndrome experience symptoms like nausea and abdominal cramping. These symptoms happen because your small intestine cannot absorb nutrients from food that has not been digested properly in the stomach. And you basically shit your pants, you have diarrhea. So other side effects, we mentioned about the malabsorption of nutrients. So nutrient deficiencies long-term in this way are really damaging to the body and is a cause for neurological decline, which I didn't know about, and premature aging of the body, not like the way that you look, although I don't know, but that doesn't matter anyway. A lot of people are not aware that the extent that they have to the tablets and the supplements that they need to take to get over this severe lack in food and what that does to your body. And so a lot of people have been told, just take a normal multivitamin that your regular Joe Schmo on the street takes. And that is like woefully inadequate to keep people who've had the surgery healthy. It's actually the regimen that people need for the rest of their lives can cost hundreds of dollars a month. And if you can't afford to do that, then it's going to have consequences on your health, unfortunately. Something else that is really interesting is, so this stuff here that I'm going to be talking about is in Christy Harrison's book, Anti-Diet, which is excellent. You should absolutely read it. And something that Christy talks about is that people who have this surgery, they have a doubled risk of substance abuse problems, and so alcohol or drugs problems. And so these are people who previously didn't have any issues with any substance abuse, and as well, substance abuse tends to manifest in younger people, so people in their 20s. But it showed that the study that I'm talking about showed that the substance abuse were happening to people in their 40s, 50s and 60s when they previously hadn't drunk alcohol. And now some people say, that's probably because if you have weight loss surgery, you're clearly addicted to food. Big quotation marks on addicted. And so they're swapping one addiction for another. But actually, that is not what they found, because one, food addiction isn't real. Now, food addiction isn't real because if you get more access to the thing, food, that you desire, the food addiction behaviors and feelings decline. Whereas with a real addiction, the more access you have to drugs or alcohol, then your symptoms increase because you just want more and more and more. And so it's not an addiction. Also, studies have shown that what happens in the brain, just like if you just have a hug from someone or you see a picture of a cat, like when you have food, you need to have that, those feel-good hormones and chemicals in your brain need to be stimulated and activated, but not to the extent of something like drugs or alcohol. We need to want to eat, right? It's a part of what keeps us alive, is the desire and the enjoyment around eating, but it's not the same as something that you can actually be addicted to. And as well, people say, you can be addicted to sugar. Same, no, you can't. It's because if you get more access to it, those feelings of addiction actually decline. So these people who had the substance abuse issues post-surgery, it's because of the size of their stomachs, the alcohol hit their brains at double the rate that it normally would. So if they had 2 units of alcohol, it would feel in their brain that they had 4. And so they were getting this high and this buzz way more quickly, which in turn caused that addictive type behavior. And as well, because they could only had these teeny tiny stomachs, they couldn't eat food to take away from the effects of the alcohol. And so this is what was found in this study. Other things. 4.6% of people who have the surgery are dead within a year. And another study shows that 3 out of every 1,000 people die within 30 days. Here's the kicker. Most people regain weight that was lost during after the surgery. So what happens normally, and obviously every single person is different, so not everyone is going to have bad side effects. Some people are going to be like, I had weight loss surgery, it was the best thing of my life, now I'm really thin and happy and I've had no side effects and everything's great. You know, there's going to be people who are like that, and there's going to be people who are somewhere in the middle, and there's going to be people who have died. So this is not kind of like a blanket, this is happening to everyone, but this is what the studies are showing us. So what happens generally is that within 12 to 18 months after the surgery, people have reached their lowest weight. And then from there, that is when the weight starts coming back on. And that is through no fault of their own. It's not because they're just, you know, these people are so greedy that they're just eating all the food. It's because our bodies want to be at the weight that they have previously been at, the set point weight. And when there's this extreme forced starvation, which is what it is, because when you have this surgery, you can only eat tiny amounts of food. So, you know, very low calorie consumption, and all of the beautiful nutrients that we need to live as human beings. And so our body, exactly what happens when we're on a diet, our body does all the things it does to get you to a place where it's safe and happy, because you are in this forced extreme starvation. So a quote from this study, all of this I'm going to link in the show notes, by the way. This study is called Long-Term Weight Regain After Gastric Bypass, a 5-year prospective study. Quote, percent BMI loss was no longer significant after 24 months, and weight regain became significant within 48 months after surgery. So basically, people will lose weight, but then within 5 years, they've put the weight back on. So 2 years after the surgery, 46% of people have regained weight. And 4 years after the surgery, it's 63%. And presumably, year after year, that number goes up and up and up, because there's no reason for it to go down again, right? So chances are you have this weight loss surgery, it's not actually going to make you thin. Now, I want to share something from Junk Food Science, which is an amazing website. And this is written by Sandy Swar, SZWARC, Swag. So I'm going to link to this as well. Quote, bariatric surgeries have been described as a gold rush in medicine because they're one of the most profitable medical procedures done today, according to Dr. Edward H. Livingston, MD, professor of surgery at the University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas. Last year, it was $7.8 billion industry, and last year was, when this was written, was 2006, and enjoying exponential growth, increasing some 1,100% since 1995. Continuing, in the more than 40 years that bariatric surgeries have been performed, there have been no randomized controlled clinical trials that have shown any long-term improvements to actual health, or that lives are saved or extended by these surgeries. Not any of the dozens of types and variations being performed, and certainly none of the new procedures claiming to be better and safer. So the new procedures that they're talking about here is the lap band stuff. According to quote-unquote obesity researcher Dr. Ernsberger, PhD, of Case Western Reserve School of Medicine, Cleveland, Ohio, several clinical studies to examine the long-term consequences and look for improved life expectancies have been started, but the results were never released. Quote, I think it's because it's bad news. Continuing, the ECRI report, Bariatric Surgery for the quote-unquote obese, noted that the surgeries can produce significant initial weight loss, but 3 years after surgery, the typical patient is still quote unquote obese. Most importantly, they concluded that based on the quality and strength of the available evidence, claims of improved quality of life and long-term health impacts are less conclusive. The Mayo Clinic reported in 2000 that 20 to 25% of gastric bypass patients develop life-threatening complications, but the recent lap-band clinical trials done to earn the FDA approval reported 89% of patients had at least one adverse event, 1/3 of them severe. Complications from lap bands are more likely to require surgery to correct, and the bands result in so much more vomiting. They are known as surgically induced bulimia among medical professionals. And finally, a recent study by researchers at Virginia Commonwealth University found that 56% of bariatric patients had 62 different gastrointestinal complications and abnormalities by CT scans. So that is from Junk Food Science. Great resource for all the science on all fatty stuff. Another thing from Christy Harrison's book, Anti-Diet, is Christy says that this is the most lucrative surgical specialty and costs $15,000 to $25,000 per procedure. And a lot of insurance companies won't pay for it. Lindo Bacon, incredible, wrote Health at Every Size, Body Respect. Linda Bacon says, bariatric surgery would be more appropriately labelled high-risk, disease-inducing cosmetic surgery than a health-enhancing procedure. Well. Next, a study came out 2 years ago, I remember when it came out, about the increased suicide rates of people who've had the surgery. So I'm going to link to this as well. Quote from this study. Based on their analysis, the estimated suicide rate for bariatric surgery population is 4.1 deaths per 10,000 patients. When compared to the World Health Organization's suicide data for the general population, the investigators reported a 4-fold increased risk of death by suicide among patients who underwent weight loss surgery. So you're 4 times more likely to die by suicide. Now, so we know all this. This is, if you have a surgeon who is ethical, they will present to you the realities of what this means. Now, they're probably not going to say, by the way, this surgery is 64% chance not going to result in weight loss, long-term weight loss. You'll temporarily lose weight and then you'll put it back on, 64% chance of that. They're probably not going to say that. They're probably not going to tell you that you're going to have 4 times the risk of suicide because that's a newer study, came out a couple of years ago. But hopefully they reveal all of the other things. But some surgeons or the medical team supporting them don't really emphasize how much people's lives are changed and how much they have to spend on care for themselves to make sure that they get enough vitamins and nutrients and all that type of stuff. And also the effect that not being able to eat food has on your life in general, because food is very social. Food is like spending time with your community and a way to share love and happy times, and as well, it could be something which is a great coping strategy for some people. Of course, not every fat person uses food as a coping strategy at all. But if that's taken away, that can be difficult. If your family is having this big, beautiful meal and you can only eat a couple of things, like if it's Christmas or Thanksgiving or whatever it is, that can be very isolating. Not being able to go out and on a night out with your friends or, things like that, because you physically can't unless you go out and just, sip some water. your life is changed in so many ways, and a lot of them are social. And then how it feels for those who put on weight, which is the majority of people, how much shame they must feel. I read people's accounts and how they felt like they were the only one. That they were so fucked up that they couldn't control themselves so much that even surgery couldn't help them, because they were so out of control and greedy and bad. But really, your body is doing exactly what it needs to do to keep you alive. So, something that Lisa Dubray is an incredible psychotherapist and clinical social worker, says about people who go for the surgery. This is what Lisa says. What we know when we look at what research has been done is that a lot of fat people that are interested in pursuing these surgeries have really high rates of internalized weight stigma. There is a study that was done years ago that compared the psychological profiles of fat people going to Weight Watchers and fat people pursuing weight loss surgery. And what they found was that the fat people that were going to Weight Watchers, their psychological profiles were in line with the general public. So about average rates of depression and anxiety and things like that. The fat folks that were pursuing weight loss surgery had psychological profiles in line with psychiatric patients, meaning significant levels of mood disorders, anxiety, trauma history, things like that. So again, it's not to say that everyone, because we can't keep track of everyone, but I think there's a lot of evidence to say that a lot of people that are pursuing and interested in the surgery are feeling pretty desperate and dealing with a lot of internalized weight stigma, and that doesn't get treated by the surgery. Another perspective about this is from Caitlin Anderley. Caitlin is known as Reframe Your Story on Instagram. I'm going to link to their account. And Caitlin on their Instagram shared a picture of their belly with surgical scars. They're just like little things, little cuts in their belly. And this is what it goes along with that image. This is what my eating disorder looked like. 5 small incisions from my weight loss surgery. There was no part of me that made the decision to have weight loss surgery from a place of self-love. It came from deep self-hatred and a longing to be accepted. I told myself it didn't have to do with weight loss. It was about my health. I thought I was a ticking time bomb and that if I stayed in this body, it would inevitably lead to health issues. I thought it would be only a matter of time. When the majority of society views your body as part of an epidemic and a strain on society, it makes sense that a person would want to change that. So people make the decision to have their stomachs banded, amputated, and rerouted. They are encouraged by doctors and by other professionals to put a permanent physical restriction on themselves. The most sick part of this is that I knew and wanted there to be pain if I ate one bite too many. So I had to face the consequences of living in my body. The true consequence of all of this and a lifetime of being told my body was wrong was falling deeper into my eating disorder behaviors. And for that, I was praised. People who didn't even really know me would come up and tell me how inspired they were by my weight loss. Regardless of intention, praising my weight loss was praising my eating disorder. So that is from Reframe Your Story on Instagram, Caitlin Anderley. Now, another account of weight loss surgery, because by the way, in case it wasn't obvious, I haven't had any surgery myself, although weight loss surgery or bariatric surgery, although how fucking yes did I want it. I remember being a teenager watching those shows I think in the US they're called like Girls Gone Wild, but it was like the UK version where young people went to like Ibiza and stuff, and they would show their tits to the camera. And I remember sitting on the sofa watching that late at night, seeing the girls showing their tits and being like, I'm not thin like them. My tits don't look like theirs. I can't become thin. So I really want to have bariatric surgery. That was like my goal. And at that time, I was a child. I was probably 15, 16, 17, something like that. But I was just like, oh, one day when I'm old enough, I'm going to get that, and that is going to fix all my problems. So anyway, so I haven't had it, but I definitely did dream about having it. Now, someone who had it recently, and it's someone that is quite well known, is Roxane Gay. Roxane Gay is the author of, you might recognize Roxane from her books Hunger and Bad Feminist, and she has other books too, but they are probably the most recognizable. Roxane wrote a brilliant piece on her decision to have surgery and what happened on Medium. Again, I'm going to link to that in the show notes. But I'm going to read some quotes from that piece. This is not the whole piece in total, and these are just kind of snippets. So Roxane says, I capitulated to a procedure after more than 15 years of resistance and had a sleeve gastrectomy at the UCLA Ronald Reagan Hospital in January 2018. I told only a few people. I did not tell my family. I felt, in equal parts, hope, defeat, frustration, and disgust. She continues, the truth is that my desire for weight loss has long been about satisfying other people more than myself, finding a way to fit more peacefully into a world that is not at all interested in accommodating a body like mine. And the dominant cultural attitude towards fatness is that the fat body is a medical problem, a drain on society, an aesthetic blight. As a fat person, I am supposed to want to lose weight. I'm supposed to be working on the problem of my body. I'm supposed to apply discipline to physical unruliness. I am not supposed to be fine with my body. I'm not supposed to yearn simply for people to let me be, to see me, accept me, and treat me with dignity exactly as I am. She continues, after more than 15 years of refusing it, I made the decision to get weight loss surgery on an ordinary day. At home in Lafayette, Indiana, a young man yelled at me to move my fat black ass while I was crossing a grocery store parking lot to my car. It was the last straw. I tried to hold my head high, shuffled as quickly as I could, put my groceries in my car and sat behind the steering wheel. I sat there shaking, wishing I could have been as quick in that moment to put him in his place as I would have been online. I wanted to call someone for comfort, but I was at a silent impasse with the only person to whom I could talk. Instead, I pressed my head against the steering wheel and sobbed. When I collected myself, I drove home and went to bed. I hoped I might not wake up, but I did. She continues. The dominant narrative around weight loss surgery is that it changes your life and makes everything better. It is a lovely fantasy that by cutting yourself open and having parts of yourself removed, everything that weighed you down will be lifted. But it is only a fantasy. She continues. The psychologist I saw for my pre-surgical evaluation warned that the first year is really difficult and many patients end up suffering from depression and regretting the surgery. The second year is better, she said, trying to reassure me after my face fell. And she was right. I am depressed and miserable. I am cold all the time and exhausted because I'm only eating between 1,200 and 1,500 calories. I'm filled with regrets because everything has changed, but everything is exactly the same. She continues, I've replaced one set of anxieties with another. I worry I'm eating too much and stretching my new stomach, something I was warned about repeatedly and vigorously. I have brief moments where I allow myself to imagine hiking Runyon Canyon or wearing a fabulous outfit because it is available in my size, or going to see a musical without having to make special arrangements. And then I tell myself to get a hold of myself. I tell myself to not want. I tell myself that I failed to discipline my body before, and I will probably fail this time too. I tell myself these things because I've carried this weight for almost 30 years, and it is terrifying to face who I could be without it. So that is excerpts from a piece that Roxane Gay wrote on Medium, and it's called What Fullness Is. So you can find that on Medium, or you can just go to the show notes where the link is going to be there for you. Now, Roxane is, I don't know Roxane's exact size, but I know that I think that she might be a super fat. I know from reading her work that, you know, even just reading that piece, not being able to fit in to go to a theatre without making arrangements beforehand. So I'm presuming that, I know she's not a small fat person. She's a large fat person. She is a super fat. She might be in an infinity fat. I don't know for sure. But I want to recognize that she's also a woman. She's also a black woman. Walking through the world with these different intersections, and I don't know if she has other things, is really fucking difficult. So why wouldn't you take that chance at living a life which, of course, you know, a lot of weight loss places will paint it as this, you know, fairy and roses and, you know, fairy tale and roses and unicorns and all that type of stuff. But, you know, we're intelligent. We know that it's probably going to be hard and all that type of stuff. But I don't know what it's like to be a fatter than I am, to be black, to be also in the public eye. Roxane shares in this article about how people constantly make memes of her, of images of her, and tweet them at her. And she's constantly barraged with people reminding her that her body is not good. And so it makes total sense to me that Roxane would elect for surgery. That pressure must be immense. That the weight of people's expectations, like she mentioned in this article, she did it for other people basically. It must be overwhelming, even if there's a almost 5% chance that you will die. For a lot of people, they are close to dying right now. But the thing that's really heartbreaking is that for most people, this won't make them thin. And I don't think that people know that when they go into the surgery, that 64% chance just after 4 years. And we don't have the data past that, because there's been thousands of studies on weight loss surgery, but only a teeny fraction are actually usable because the rest aren't good science. And so we have hardly any data. And also a big problem when it comes to the science around this stuff is that the follow-up with patients, after a certain amount of years, the patients don't come back for follow-up. Now, I don't know for sure, but I can guess. Why would a patient not come back for follow-up? Because they're fat again. They've put weight on and they've blamed themselves versus blaming a faulty product, weight loss surgery. And I know in the States it's, you know, it's for profit, and so it's going to be even more, you know, worse and extreme and unethical practices and all that type of stuff. But of course, every country has weight loss surgery, and as well, talking about weight loss surgery for children. And I want to roundhouse kick people in the face who thinks that is appropriate to amputate a healthy organ from a child. Oh dear God, please! All those people, those children have had it done already. I just want to go and hug them and tell them that their body is perfect. Obviously, I wouldn't do that because they'd be like, "Go away, that's weird. I'm just trying to play on my bike or whatever." But so weight loss surgery. Some people will lose weight and keep it off. We don't really know what percent. What we do know is that most people won't. But imagine if you're thinking, as I did going into diets, well, I'm going to be, with diets, 95% fail, I'm going to be the 5% because I really want this. I'm really desperate to be thin. And so let's pretend that you are that percent that is able to lose weight. The question that I would want to consider is, but at what cost? I always think about the unicorns who do lose weight, what their life is like, what they're having to do to maintain that weight loss. How are they eating? How are they relating to food? Are they forcing themselves to move their bodies in ways that they don't like? What's their mental health like? Are they happy? Are they fulfilled? Do they like their body? Do they hate themselves? It's super painful. This stuff is super painful, and it makes absolute sense that people would choose this. It's your choice. You can do anything that you want to your body, of course. But looking at the statistics around it, it's not actually effective. And the amount of side effects, remember that one said that 89% of people from the lap band had at least one side effect, and most people had severe side effects. Like, you have to make a decision. Is it worth it for you to be constantly shitting your pants because of the dumping syndrome, to be vomiting all the time, to not be able to enjoy meals with people in the way that you did before, to have gastrointestinal issues, to have a hardcore regimen of tablets that you need to take every day to try and get the nutrients that you would have got previously from food, to have your life change, and for a lot of people, they can't reverse it, especially if you've had your stomach amputated. That's gone in the bin, that's long gone. You can't grow your stomach back. It's irreversible. Is that worth a 1 in 3 chance for you to be smaller, but also have unknown side effects? I don't know. It's not my place to say you shouldn't do it. I personally wouldn't do it because obviously I think that my body's fine as it is. And I know that if I want to become healthy, if I want to improve health, there are lots of different ways that you can do that without working to try and lose weight, which is ineffective. So that is weight loss surgery, aka bariatric surgery, aka stomach amputation surgery. I wanted to talk about this as kind of like one of those things that's been on my mind for a while, and I don't know if it's obvious, but I wanted to clearly state that if you've had this surgery, it doesn't mean that you're bad or you're not smart or it's all about vanity or or if you're thinking about it or if you're going to get it done. This shit is difficult. Living as a fat person is hard, And so a lot of people come back to me and they're like, I followed you for a bit, but then I went away because I wanted to do another diet. And guess what? It's failed. And I'm like, I get it. Why not? If you think that you've got this last chance to be happy, to be healthy, to have a rich and full life, and you think that it might work for you, why would you not take that? But do you have all the information? Hopefully this podcast has given you a lot of information that maybe people haven't previously shared. So it makes sense that people have it. You're not a bad person if you have it. You're not a bad person if you're planning on having it. Because life is complicated. But just know that chances are it won't make you thin. It won't make you healthy. It probably won't make you happy. In fact, you're more likely to die by suicide. So, yeah. Okay, well, thank you for hanging out with me today. A reminder, I have a free Facebook community, and it's pretty amazing if I do say so myself. It's called Fierce Fatty Friends. Now, to get into Fierce Fatty Friends, you have to be a human being, a real-life human being. And if that is you, congrats, you can come on in. So to show that you're a real life human being, you have to answer the 3 questions. There's questions, when you join a group and it'll be questions. 3 questions. They're very simple. If you don't answer the questions, if you answer the questions and you're like, fuck you or something, I'm like, why would, if someone's answered the questions, we wouldn't let them in. But if you don't answer them in the right way, not that, so if you don't answer even one of the questions, you don't get in. So if you've requested previously and you haven't got in, then that's probably why. So you can request again and answer the questions. Yes. So we just need to make sure no creepy people come in. Or, no super creepy people. You can be creepy and come in, but, creepy in the right ways, not in the creepy ways. Okay, so come and join me, hang out with me and Fierce Fatty Friends. And thank you for being with me for 50 episodes. Yes, amazing. So proud of myself. So thanks for being with me for 50 episodes. And here's to another 50. How about that? Another 50. That would be good, wouldn't it? Okay, all right. I'll see you in episode 51. Have an incredible day. I'll see you later. Crocodile. Stay fierce, fatty. Bye-bye.